I have really enjoyed, now, you all can tell me whether you enjoy it or not. This whole journey through the Lord's Prayer for me has been a wonderful experience. I have taken each and every phrase of the Lord's Prayer using the work of Neil Douglas Klotz, who is an Aramaic scholar, and particularly in one of his most recent books, Revelations of the Aramaic Jesus, which, if I ever finish the Lord's Prayer, which, I have got one phrase, I'm getting ready to work on the 8th phrase, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever, which apparently has some other meanings too. So I have just finished working through the lead us not into temptation piece. But each day, for about 10 days, I've spent with each line of the Lord's Prayer. And then it's a review for me, as it was this week. As I was working on the new phrase, the 8th phrase, the final phrase, I went to the 4th phrase, which is really the heart of the Lord's Prayer. Your will be done on earth as in heaven. A couple of observations I would make from looking at it in the Aramaic. First of all, you can't call me an Aramaic scholar. 2.5 months of studying Aramaic, including an elementary workbook and multiple other books by other people, does not make me an Aramaic scholar. Just got to give that to you. It makes me someone who is deeply interested and is discovering all sorts of wonder in the teachings of Jesus based on what the Aramaic words meant, the richness of those words. But some observations as someone who has now seen these lines in Aramaic. Your will be done on earth and heaven. First, interestingly enough, is in the Aramaic, earth doesn't come first. It comes last. Your will be done in heaven as on earth. It's an interesting juxtaposition for me, but I was thinking about it this week. I had not noticed it because I had been spending so much time in the Aramaic, and when you're looking at a bunch of words written in a Semitic language from right to left, not left to right, you don't think about, wait a second, this is in a different order. Because actually when it's written from right to left, it's in the same order, except it's not. Because it's then earth as in heaven, because earth is at the end of this line over here. So I'm reading this, and it occurred to me as I was observing this week, oh my gosh, heaven comes first. Do the same in heaven as on earth. Heaven is kind of maybe the example, this sense of heaven, this sense of communal connection. Because what's also interesting about the word for heaven in Aramaic is we think of it as a place, a distant, far-off place, a perfect place, golden streets, pearly gates, all those kinds of things that Revelation talks about. There are a few other descriptions of what heaven might be like, but most of the descriptions we get biblically are really about knowing God, being present with God, being in the company of God in some place other. And this idea of Shemaiah, which is the Aramaic word for heaven, is a word of connectedness, a communal sense. The unity of the universe, the unity of God in holding the universe together, that's a sense of what heaven is. That we all give in to this holding together and become part of all that God is doing. Somehow we join with God in that. That's what heaven looks like. It's an archetype in Aramaic. When they speak about heaven, they're talking about the community. And when they speak about earth, they're talking about the particular, the individuals, the earth and each of the planets, the people and each of the persons. We all have a little bit of particularity as well as a little bit of connectedness to everything else. But God begins from the place, in this text, Jesus begins from the place of heaven, the connectedness. May it be as it is where it's connected, just as it is for the individual. At the same time, both of them. So heaven comes first in the Aramaic, not last, as it does in the English translations. Second of all, The word that's translated will often is really from an Aramaic root that means desire. God's heart's desire. It's always in reference to the heart. And in this case, I don't want to do my desire in heaven as on earth. I want to do may your desire really be a part of all this. It flows out of that last phrase that we did last week. Please let your kingdom come. That connectedness, that sense of empowerment that comes from you, your kingdom, not mine. And then from the place of recognizing that it's your kingdom, not mine, and that I want to be about your doing, not mine, we come to this, let your will, only it's let your heart's desire be done. At the same time, in heaven, indeed, and you can make that 2 words, indeed, make it an action, also on earth. What we do in connectedness, let it be done in your life, and let it be done in a way that is in keeping with God's deepest desire. God's deepest desire for us is that we live into that kingdom, that we truly invite it into our lives, that we be empowered to live into God's kingdom, not our own. And it's very easy to fall back into our own kingdoms, setting up our own little fiefdoms in the world. I'm in charge of this. I'm in control, which is the biggest illusion we mostly go through in life. Neither you or I control anything, pretty much. I can't control the thoughts that rise inside of me. I can control, or at least let go or not let go of those thoughts when they rise. I don't have to grab a hold of them. I can be in a conversation where someone is making me furious. And if I grab onto the furious thought, I will lay into them. If I let it pass, they're no wiser. I am, because I saw it come up. But they aren't, because I didn't spit it out. It passed. We don't control the weather as much as we'd like to. We don't control a lot of aspects of our lives. We fight tooth and nail to try to control them. But living into God's kingdom is recognizing we don't have any control. We can choose how we respond in a given moment. But even when we respond appropriately, it might not turn out as we hoped we controlled it to be. Controlling is the closed fist, trying to hold on. And letting go is the open one. We'll talk about that more when we get to the forgiveness piece. We still got to go through bread next week. Give us today our daily bread. But this week is about doing the desire of God. God is passionate about certain things, and Jesus teaches us what those things are. Jesus is passionate. It explains to us that God is passionate about the kingdom, about the queendom. I told you last week it was better translated in feminine, but it doesn't matter. God is passionate about the kingdom coming here because it's all around us. It's among us. It's wrapped around us, even in this moment. And we can make it manifest in the way we live, or we can hide it. God is really passionate about us loving each other passionately, with the kind of vehemence that makes me want to stand up for those who are the weakest and stand up to those who are the strongest, trying to oppress the weakest. God is passionate for those who are put down and is bothered by, maybe I hesitate to say passionate against, those who lord it over everyone else. You can make your own decision about that. But I know God is passionate about love. God describes it to us over and over again in lots of different ways. What does love look like? Love of the neighbor. Well, somebody that you think is your enemy showing up and caring for the wounds of someone. The story of the Good Samaritan. The people you think are really religious walking by on the other side of the road. That's what love looks like. Love looks like a father who's been waiting for a prodigal son who has squandered everything he was ever given. And when he sees him coming home, He runs with abandon in the most unreserved and dishonorable way possible, because men in the first century did not run around with those long Middle Eastern robes they wore. That was considered to be shameful. But the father runs to greet that son. That's what love looks like. It breaks all the rules. It reaches beyond the boundaries we want to set of who can be loved and who can't. God is passionate about that, and that's what God wants for us. God's passionate heart wants it to look like an acceptance communally of everything, and an acceptance with ourselves of our own brokenness and limitations. Because it's only beginning to accept and admit to ourselves and name our shortcomings that we can surrender them to God. To be available enough to ourselves and to the world that we say, oh, wow, that's where I cross a line. I keep crossing that line. I keep wanting to say that ugly thing. What is, God, I don't seem to have any power over this. I'm powerless when it comes to this. So I surrender it to you. I see it. I know it's my failing. I know it's my way of tripping up all the time. But let it go to you. Because only by admitting it, naming it, owning it, and saying, I need help, will I ever overcome it? Will I ever be able to live into the passion of God for us? Will seems like something I can do with my own brain. Your will be done. I'll will it with you there. I was going to get my brain wrapped around it. I got a lot of intellectual strength, baby. I'm smart. I'm not the smartest or the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm sharp. And I'm in the shed, I guess. I don't know. That always breaks down when you use those metaphors sometimes. But I'm not smart enough to will exactly what God wills. But maybe if I surrender myself to the passion of God, as God does it communally and in this place of heaven connection, as well as individually and in particularity amongst us all, then maybe I can be like God. You know what's very interesting is the first word in that sentence in Aramaic that's often translated as let. Let your will be done on earth as in heaven. Or, as we've learned, let your heart's desire. It's not let like I'm giving it permission to be done. You know, like I can give permission to God for God's passion to be done. I'm going to let you do your passion in the world. It's not that. Let it be. I surrender. Let it be. I surrender to you, to your passion. Let your passion be done, not mine. Let yours. Nehwe sabyanach. Let your passion be done. At the same time, Ikana, the Bashmaya in heaven, Af Barah, as earth. What's our takeaway from this is God isn't just an intellectual being sitting back with some kind of will. God is passionate about you. God is passionate about the world we live in. God is passionate about loving us and wanting us to love one another and to realize we only get a short time to figure this out. We don't have time to hate our neighbors because we're not here forever. We got to get over ourselves and get over the hate. There isn't a lot of space for that. I mean, there's a lot of it. There seems to be space for it. It's all over the place. But when we're honest with what God's passionate about and what we surrender our passion to, then we know we don't have space in our lives for that hate stuff, for that disdain stuff, for that snark stuff. We do have room in our lives for the passion of God, which is that communally and individually we will be ultimately connected to the passion he has for everything. I want to be madly in love with all the things God is madly in love with. And guess what that is? Everything and everyone. I'm already defeated, aren't I? You're not defeated if you can surrender to the passion of God. When you say, your will be done on earth as in heaven, think, I surrender my passion to yours. Let your passion flow through me for this place you have made, for these people you have made, for the ones that I love and the ones that rub me wrong like sandpaper. Let me be passionate for them as you are and live that love in a powerful way. All rolled up in a single phrase we will say a little later on when we say the Lord's Prayer. What are you passionate about? Are you building the habits in your life that allow you to overcome the passions that think that stuff is what matters? It matters. Matter matters. But it's not the ultimate matter. Love, relationship, connection to God, that's what matters. That's what God is passionate about. That's what that prayer is a surrender to. Let it flow through you when you say it. Maybe just practice this week. Your will be done on earth as in heaven. I surrender to your passion in heaven as in earth. Spend the week with your passions. Of them, which ones are God's passions? Which ones are yours? Which ones can you form new habits to let go of? That's what I got out of your will be done on earth as in heaven. Next week, isn't it daily bread? I think it's give us today our daily bread. I think it is. That's what we'll be talking about next week. Whatever the next line is, which now escapes me, that's what we'll be talking about.